welcome to the Art of Franchise Marketing. Each episode takes a deep dive into the franchise space and explores how the biggest and best brands handle national branding, franchise development, employee recruitment, and localized marketing on a daily basis. This podcast is brought to you by NetCertive, a localized digital marketing partner for franchise networks. NetCertive talks shop with franchise executives to discuss what's working, what's not, and answers the question, what else can you be doing to excel at the art of franchise marketing?
Hello, and welcome to another episode of The Art of Franchise Marketing. I'm your host, Erin Martin, and today our guest is Daniel McCarty, who's the founder and CEO of Junkstart. Daniel, thanks for joining us.
Thanks, Erin. Looking forward to it.
Just to jump in, to give our listeners some background, can you share a little bit more about you and Junkstart?
Yeah, sure. Junkstart, first thing you should know, we are the first and only pay-by-weight junk removal company in the country. I started this journey years ago with the express purpose I wanted to build a national franchise brand. And so I had that idea before I even knew I wanted to do junk removal or I had a name or I had anything. I really thought, I want to build a franchisor in the service space. Picked junk removal. I have some background in the waste industry. I've done it my whole life. I like the category. I decided, hey, I'm just going to, why recreate the wheel? I'll just copy what like One and Harry Got Junk or College Hunks did. I'll get a little bit nicer brand and we'll launch just doing the exact same thing everyone else does, just hopefully a little bit nicer brand. When I launched, I really had the idea to copy everyone else, but I really spent a lot of time thinking through and investing in what a great brand looks like, right? Like from the very start, what's the brand story, what kind of collateral and the website assets and all that. And I think that's really paid dividends. What happened over the next coming years is like a lot of businesses, I think in the home service space, when you run into a lack of differentiation. And so I think like in college or in business books, you're always taught to be different. But I know at least for me, I'm maybe dumb enough to where I was like, that doesn't count for me, right? Like I could just be the same and I'll just do it better. And what I found was it was really hard to stand out. We ended up all competing over price. All of our value props were the same. If you pulled up all of our websites, we had the same messaging, the same like stock imagery, the same icon layout. And I don't know if we all were copying each other or if someone had an original thought and we all just copied it, but it was horrible. And so like a couple of years in, I decided I need to try and come up with some differentiation. And it came apart that part of junk removal I think is sketchy, and it's the way we price. Historically, it's based off of volume, and I thought that wasn't really fair because when you go to a landfill, you're just charged based off of weight. And a lot of things culminated in us going, we'll just try and pivot. I ended up getting rid of all of our old trucks, our whole business model completely. I had to create a whole new category class, which is pay-by-weight junk removal. Figured out how to put scales on all of our trucks. It's now a patent-pending proprietary system that we're the only one in the country doing it. And just here to tell you, life after sort of differentiation, product market fit is much better than trying to compete in that sea of sameness. And I wish every home service company could experience it. I think unfortunately most people are stuck competing over the same value prop in roofing or plumbing, but we were able to figure out how to do something different in the junk removal space, and it's been a breath of fresh air for sure.
I love it. And I have so many questions, but among many things that I love about this story is also just, I think for any brand who maybe isn't starting at the beginning, but even if you're halfway through and you don't have a strong differentiator, it's so hard to stop the machine when you see little opportunities everywhere for improvement. So you just think, oh, if I just tweak this here, if I tweak that there, then we can win, then we can get ahead. Where really what you're talking about is like leap steps ahead, like 10xing ahead by getting that product market fit right.
Yeah, 100%, because there's customer acquisition cost and then there's the lifetime value of the customer, right? And that's the holy grail equilibrium we're always trying to solve for. And so when I was looking at CAC, I was like, dang it, maybe I could figure out a way to incrementally beat Google at its own game, right? And I can lower CAC by 6% and my cost per click. And like ultimately, you got to know that like Google's really good at making money. They're probably the best company of all time to make money. And so they're going to it's just hard. That's a hard value prop to go against. I'm going to beat Google. And so from a fundamental standpoint, they're like, how do I totally try and relook at my acquisition cost? And so when we decided, hey, we're going to price differently, that's going to give our value prop, like it's going to fundamentally change the way we're able to price to build value. And now our customer acquisition cost is much, much lower. Our booking rates and conversion rates are much, much higher, which goes into CAC. And whereas getting 5% incremental improvement was probably really hard doing the same thing. If you're forced to like, that's the 10x is easier than 2x is that book title. It's the same thing with CAC. It's like it's almost easier to try and rethink through exactly and from the ground up, like what's my value prop, than like how do I drive an incremental 5% out of Google's pocket into my own, if that makes sense, Erin.
Yeah. And I'm curious, so when you were trying to dig into something that would differentiate yourselves, what did you look at? Or was it just so glaringly obvious that it was the weight and how you guys...
Yeah. No, it definitely wasn't obvious. So it was many years of, maybe it's the way we tell the brand story, and maybe it's we're local owned, or maybe we're our culture. But like those things are really hard to, how are you different? And you go, our culture. And I believe that is fundamentally true. Like your culture is a differentiator. It's really hard to convince people that it's different. And so it took a lot. And for you listening, like maybe it's probably not pricing as your distinct differentiator, but the only way I can tell you is it took jumping out into the void, screwing up for like years on end, and then the intuition that comes from multiple different wins, and then they all culminated into what now seems obvious. But like I wish there was a checklist to give entrepreneurs on like how to find it before you go through all that pain and struggle. But I know for me, at least, it was like 17 different things that culminated into this one aha moment that I wish for everyone, but I don't know if there's a checklist for it.
Yeah. What are some of those things that hit you? Did you just see sales go up? Did you see like better reviews coming in? What were some of those?
Yeah. I know when we were talking about it, I thought it was like, hey, this is a fairer way to do things, because the volume-based model, it's basically up to the 22-year-old guy driving your truck. He looks around and goes, it's $500. It's like half a truck. There's a lot of haggling. And so like customers, we used to do it too. I'll do it for 100. And then I'll be like, I'll do it for 300. And it was like a used car buying experience. And it sucked. It was just really bad. And we heard stories of people just blatantly gouging customers because they thought they could get away with it. And so I really thought, hey, having a non-arbitrary, like it is what it is. It's 50 cents a pound. It's just like the deli counter at the store, right? You don't go up there and negotiate what you're going to pay for ground beef per pound, right? It is what it is. I thought we could get a little bit of pricing power. We could charge what we needed to in order to like make the business model work. I was hoping that our conversion rate would improve because we could build more value over the phone. And those things came through in spades. Our cancellation rate improved dramatically, or booking rate conversely. Our value prop, so like our cost to acquire customers, has improved significantly. I think that's because in the ad copy, we could say first and only pay by weight, or the cost savings that we see our customers have, like where they're not just reading the same, we're local, we're friendly, we show up on time. It was this holistic thing to where we were able to build more value even in the ad copy, the positioning, the phone call, why we're different, why we're better. They canceled less often right before we even showed up because we built more value on the phone. We convert much higher when we're at the job site, right? And then we're able to price such that we make more money on each job. That's the chain of progression that we saw.
Yeah, so good. So what did that early stage kind of operations and team look like for you? Like, how did you get started? Who did you have doing what? Were you out there trying to learn firsthand?
Yeah, definitely when we first started, it was scrappy. Yeah, we had a core group of guys. I started with 3 trucks. First hiring team, a lot of them are still with us actually, which is really fun because they've seen the brand go from over 3.5 or 4 years now, from smaller to bigger. And so that's been fun. But yeah, we started scrappy, made a lot of mistakes. I think I wanted to, again, I thought we'd just roll the carpet out and start franchising and everything would be perfect, right? So like I was really sorely mistaken on that. But we spent that first year really learning a lot, paying the dumb tax, like spending a lot of marketing campaigns without really even understanding what our funnel really was doing, let alone like tracking it and making sure that it was patched before we were spending gobs of money on pay-per-click. And learn the hard way on funnel and how important the call center is and how important just having full visibility into your funnel is, especially on Google ads. Or it's so easy to just light money on fire and just assume that more money will fix it. And that's not the case, right? Normally you have to break it back down to the component parts and fix all the funnel and work on each layer on its own. But that was the big thing for us. Year one was understand the business, which is pretty simple, and then understand marketing. We spent a lot of money without really getting the results we needed, mainly because of me. Like I didn't really focus on the funnel. And year two is probably more working with our marketing partners and getting great insight and data into the funnel, fixing what we needed to. And then when you start pouring the gas on it, it's not all leaky. Your bucket's not as leaky.
Yes, minor detail. So what are some of those things that you found that works or was working for you now? Whether it's, do you guys have a centralized call center to be able to capture all those leads? And then same on the digital marketing front, what's working for you guys?
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, the call center's been great. We've got some great technology built out around the funnel. So again, it's like the holy grail, trying to find the full funnel visibility. But we've had some really great success just being able to track where the calls are coming from, right? Like what were the eyeballs doing before then, through our booking process onto the schedule, if they convert, to determine like our return on ad spend. And we're doing great with digital marketing, pay-per-click. Google local service works for us as well. The main thing you got to be careful of, I know from experience, is like you got to tie in your seasonality with your ad spend. And I think it's easy to be like, oh, I want to spend $120 this year on ads. I'll just do $10 a month. But really, it should probably be like $3 in January, $5 in February, just staggered to go with your seasonality. But yeah, so really for us, digital marketing's been great. Organic's been great. A couple of years in, we've got, I think at our San Antonio corporate store, we just crossed 800 reviews of the 5.0 average. So a lot of that, the years of hard work getting reviews is certainly coming through. So organic rankings and Google My Business Profile is doing really well, which lowers your customer acquisition costs if more is coming from organic than paid. And so all that good stuff, like the juice that comes from many years of doing the right things consistently on a daily basis, is starting to really show its the fruits.
Yeah, and that seasonality piece is always so interesting, because we actually did a study. Often so many seasonal marketers will flight increase during the peak times, but then especially franchisees just end up dropping off. Corporate knows, and as leaders we know the importance of being visible at all times, and especially when competitors are dropping off during like low season, there's a huge opportunity to gain ground on brand awareness and some loyalty. So we've actually seen in some previous case studies done where if we shave off a little bit of investment during the peak season to make sure there's some for off season, and when you holistically look at it, you can end up driving lower cost per lead and more leads. It's like you're almost like flattening the curve a little instead of such highs and such lows. But it's also really hard to do when there's so much demand to be captured during the peak season. So we often don't see franchisees do that. But it's like an interesting dynamic to try to deal with, knowing that if someone else isn't there, you have opportunity to capture demand as well.
Yeah, I'd be interested to ask you more on that. Like, what do you think the best franchisors do? Because I agree with you totally. Like, you've got to look at the long-term 5 or 10-year vision, right, of your market. And you want to be top of mind when they come up with that category use occasion. Like when I think junk removal, I think junk start. And when, the best time, right, is to build that moat, like during December when your competitor is not going to spend on your pay-per-click and you're going to invest. Like, what do you think the best franchisors do to try and, because it's hard as a franchisee because you're like, I want to spend $1, get 3 back. Like, I can't afford to think 7 years down the road. Like, what do you think the best franchisors do to
I think the best ones also have a strong brand fund that also goes to national advertising to do the year-long coverage. And then the franchisees can be the one who are doing all the seasonal local ad spend. Because oftentimes I'll see NAF set up where there might cover some listings or like other centralized things that the brand's going to do, but it doesn't include a national ad campaign. So that's one thing that can help, because then you're not going dark.
I get this all the time. I think there's price and there's cost. Okay, so we have a higher brand fund, right? Like our goal is to be the biggest junk removal company in the galaxy, right? So our brand fund's 2.5%, which is more than any of our competitors. Because why? We want to be the biggest, and I wish I could tell you we could spend less on marketing and be the biggest over the next 10 years. I don't think so. But there's a point when if you could charge maybe 0.5% or 1% on brand fund, and it'd be a much higher costing or like a worse ROI for you than if you could spend 2.5%, but it's done really well and you get a great return on your investment. It's like there's a difference between price and cost. And it's sometimes hard to, people just see the headline number and it's, same with, I could have bare minimum royalties, but that means I can only afford, right? Some part-time person, I pay $20 an hour to run your marketing campaign. Or if I have a little higher royalties, right, we could pay someone the $200,000 or $300,000 to get the best person in the world at it that's 10 times better than the next person. And I don't know if you experience that as well.
Yeah. I mean, I think there's also the stage that you're in your business where it sounds like you're doing it the smart way, where there is a lot of upfront investment and focus and care with building the system correctly, where I often see that fall down as well. It's like there's either some type of growth that's hit, but not thinking systematically and holistically about supporting the Z's who will then validate to help with Fran Dev, and the cycle continues. So there's just so many factors at play when building the strong brand up front that takes a lot of investment, not just like cowboying it, which can happen.
For sure.
And so I'm curious on the Fran Dev side of things then, like how does that look on your guys' end as you've started to grow and scale the brand?
Yeah, so we really launched like the end of last year, like November, December, was joining consultant groups, got our website launched, trying to work on organic and paid ads. I think it took a lot of investment, as you say, a lot of investment into the system, the differentiation, a ton of money into the IP, our patent pending stuff, getting the right leaders on. Like we worked with a world-class chief marketing officer, have a world-class director of marketing, world-class COO, right? With a bunch of franchisor experience and business partner of mine, like Doug. And we invested a ton to get the value prop right, to get all the people right, invested a ton of money. And then now here comes January or February, like our pipeline is it's very robust, right? It's great. And it might think that, oh, that's like just a really easy, quick ROI. It's 3 or 5 years of work to build and get the value prop right and to get your positioning right and to invest the capital in the right way, to bring on the right people, to where now it seems like marketing is for Fran Dev it's like we can get 10 or 20 introductions a day now, which seems absurd, but it's also like that was the last 3 or 5 year investment that's just now starting to show fruits. And that's the whole franchise business model in general, right? Is invest everything up front, and then over time, over years and years, it starts to be a nice investment if you do the things right systematically, like you said. But yeah, I think our Fran Dev marketing, we could be spending an infinite amount of money, I bet, trying to get in front of consultants or run Google ads. But if our value prop wasn't very good and we were just the same old, like I don't think we'd be getting a return. And so like how much of your Fran Dev budget should have been like reworked into the business model formation, the value prop, like how can you be different? What if you took the $100,000 you want to run in pay-per-click ads this year and like instead invested it certainly in support, but even more in like the value prop or getting different somehow. And I wish it was easy as spending $100,000 and finding out your differentiator. It's usually not, right? But that goes to show you, like, I just know for a fact, like, when someone's, how are you different? Which is what everyone in franchising asks. And being able to tell, like, convincingly, like, in 5 seconds, like, boom, this is how we're different. We're the first and only blank. It shocks people. Like, they're not used to getting, like, a straight answer to that. And it's so much easier to do Fran Dev when you have that. And it's just so hard when you're very similar. I don't care if you have a giant ad budget. Like, it's just hard to do marketing when you're the same. And at least the Fran Dev side for sure, but even on consumers.
Yeah. And the clarity and belief.
Yeah.
Employees. Like when you have that simplicity and clarity, it is just so wonderful. It reminds me of my husband's in the healthcare space, and he's, oh yeah, like this person moved to this hospital, that hospital moved. They just are like, there's not a differentiator between any of them. Right. Every employee just hops around. Yeah. So it's like, there's so much goodwill and trust and pride, I think, that can be built when you have that type of thing at the core for your company.
Yeah. Yeah, lots of momentum to be had. It's just fun, like different vendor partners. Like I love talking to folks and they're like, they start off one way and in the end they're like, are you guys like hiring? My biggest thing is like just having all these Zoom calls and people are like, I just want to be a part of building this, which is nice. But yeah, it all goes together, like from the brand image to the vision you had, right, to the value prop, to the people, the culture. Like it's such a fun thing to see, like working. It's addicting, right? I guess that's what all of us entrepreneurs love doing. But yeah, it's fun.
Yeah, the addicted to the 5-year sudden or overnight success, I should say.
Yeah, we forget all about the 4 years, 11 months prior. Yep.
Yes. So looking back to that 5 years ago, what would you tell yourself then if you could give yourself some advice?
Yeah, I think that's the fun thing. I think for entrepreneurs, it's like you learn so much more than you ever could have hoped. You build so many scars and core capabilities. Like you build such an more interesting, I think I have a much more interesting mental model of the world and businesses that I could not have. You cannot read about it. Like you just have to do. And one thing, Erin, I don't know, you probably get this from folks as well. A lot of our calls, set of prospect calls in, most of them want to entrepreneurship through acquisition. ETA is a big thing right now. They want us just buy a business that already has whatever, $1 million of profit. And they want to skip the first 20 years and they just want to jump in and manage it, which I love. That also resonated with me 5 years ago. Of course, you would rather skip all the hard part, a lot of the hard, really gritty parts. And there's a lot of risk that comes with obviously buying a business that you don't know a lot about. But look back, like I would have been such a worse entrepreneur if I had to just like skipped that part and try and bought year 5 or year 10. I think there's so many innate things that you just like fine tune your intuition on that I think I'd be much worse off even if I could have acquired something and skipped these past 5 years. There's something about, I just think that's human being. It's not anything new, but for some reason, like in 2025, we think we've cracked the secret to the universe. For all of human history, we know like apprenticeship, like you got to go, there's stages of learning and doing, and you usually have to pay the piper. And of course, every 5 years, someone comes up with a way to skip that, right? The magic elixir. And I think right now maybe it's entrepreneurship through acquisition, but there's so much to learn for a franchisee that maybe hasn't done it before to learn, start a business from scratch through the franchising model, which gives you a ton of added handholding and opportunities and capabilities. And then maybe in 5 years or 10 years or the end of your agreement or in 3 years, right? You could sell the franchise to someone else, make some money and go off and buy a business right now that you have experience or start something, or it doesn't have to be the end all be all, right? Just because you bought a franchise, it could just be inning one. And anyway, I'm just passionate about that because I feel like there's so much you learn. There's so much incredible things that you can't even articulate that you'll learn when you start a business that are so good for you long term, I think. And it's just I wish more people, it sucks. It does suck, but it's so good for you, I think.
Yeah, it's like that friction and, the saying failing forward. Like that doesn't come from anywhere. It's that you learn and grow through adversity. So are you really trying to create a life where there's no adversity? That's like the flip side that I often think about, like in business and life.
Yeah, it's supposed to be hard. Like what is interesting and worth doing that's not hard in life? And so not very many things. So you're like, okay, so like it's supposed to be hard, right? So like maybe the idea is not to minimize, comfort or necessarily. Maybe it's, hey, like doing hard things is sometimes, not to be a masochist, but sometimes it is like that's showing you that maybe that is what you should be doing within reason. But I totally resonate with that.
Is there any other, thinking back on just the 5 years, are there any other points that really stick out as some of the hardest times or hardest problems you guys had to overcome?
Yeah, and I think it's the wonderful thing as well is you learn a lot about yourself and your strengths and weaknesses. So I know that I really enjoy and I'm humbly fairly gifted at certain things. I'm really bad at certain things. And so like a lot of which is just funny, you learn about that this early. I think one thing that stood out to me, I was thinking about, I played football in college too. And one thing that stuck out to me is my freshman year, I almost quit. I wasn't having a lot of fun. I thought all my friends were having more fun and I was about to quit. I was like, I'll just go to normal school. Like I don't need to play football. And I just one more year, just try it one more year. And it turned out like the best decision I ever made was stick through it, play the rest of my career. Like I absolutely cherish my experience. Same with business. Like about the time, 18 months in, when I was like, maybe this isn't working. Like I had to give myself the same pep talk. It's like just a little bit longer. I think there's some threads here. Was when we like discovered the pivot, made the move, pay by weight. I don't know why. Maybe that's just the two times that stuck out in my mind. But it certainly has seemed to me like a pattern of just when I want to quit something, just on the other side of that. This isn't some like stupid whatever knockoff Tony Robbins motivational speaker that you don't want to hear Daniel do that. But it's shocking to me every time I'm like almost ready to like give in that like the universe, whatever. It's like something conspires to just good things happen right on the other side of just a little bit longer. And I don't know if you've experienced that, Erin.
Yeah, because that's when people stop.
Yeah.
95% of everyone else stops and when it gets that hard, but you're that 1% that keeps going.
Yeah.
Like for sure, 100%.
Yeah, for sure. That's the main takeaway for me. And then you learn a lot about yourself and what you're good at, what you're not good at. And then you can work on bringing on folks, right, that may complement you well and are good at things that you're not good at and you're good at, and you can focus on what you're best at. But you have to earn that, not the right, but you have to earn that ability, right? So when it's day one, like you're doing a lot of things, even if you're bad at them, congratulations. You get to do it all. And then as you grind and you get more success, then you get the ability to like stop doing the things maybe you're not so good at and hire to complement yourself. And then it just every day is more and more fun for me. The longer I get away from the start, I have more fun each and every day, getting to do more and more what I like and getting to hire folks that are better at what I'm bad at. And it's just very fun once you get through that grindstone. It's always a grind, but I've had a lot more fun.
Yeah. And building that team. Yeah. That's one thing that I think I was just so naive about earlier in my career, because it was all about doing, excelling, achieving, performance, and then finally like transitioning more into management and then leadership. like understanding the personalities and the dynamics and the personality profiles of people that make up teams. And just like how that will make or break you, not just do you have the engine to grind or not. It was just quite the shift of, okay, like this is the type of leader I am. Here's who compliments me well. Or for my own team, I'm this type of leader. I need these type of other team members surrounding me. It's like that is just a big learning curve as well.
Yeah, I love it. You said that. Yeah, exactly right. Like there's no perfect manager or like perfect. Yeah, you got to create value, right? And it's a combination of like, what are me as a manager, my skill sets, shortcomings that informs who I want to be on my team that can help build like ultimately the most productive system. And yeah, it's all, and you can only learn that through experience. And yeah, I think that's really insightful, Erin.
Yeah, I really doing I'm sure a ton of people do this, but I love doing disc profiles and Colby profiles of all team members because I know like I'm one of those people who I really like to research and understand and bring every kind of fact to the party that I can. I can also make decisions when needed. I'm not like in analysis paralysis because of it, but with that, I'm very like thoughtful and structured. So I don't need another person who's also project management structure oriented. Like sometimes I need to just go do it and then ask for forgiveness later, or like the visionary or the mad scientist. There's all these different personalities to make that team.
We love it. We use Culture Index here. That's actually where I met my business partner now. Doug was my like Culture Index consultant, and it's all about, it's similar to DISC. It's a little different. And I remember going through it, and I'm very visionary, and he's an architect, which is like the world's best number 2 pattern. And anyway, we believe in it. It just transformed my brain, and I'm in a Bisted CEO group, and we all are trained on Culture Index. So like when we have people problems, like what's their CI profile? And we like it so much that as part of our training program, like we're including it, we're paying for it. Like we're going to get everyone in our whole system, every franchisee trained on Culture Index. And then, so they'll have the ability to have group calls, coaching with their Culture Index consultant to where everyone in our system will have the same shared knowledge of, hey, this is your strengths. This is what you should hire for your weaknesses, certain roles. And we just love the shared like vocabulary. And so, yeah, we've actually invested in, as part of your initial training, right? Whatever, a full day of the week-long training is going to be around Culture Index and people and learning yourself and what others are. Because it's been that big of a deal for me, and like an unlock sounds like for you as well, like figuring out you versus other people and the traits that they inherently have.
Which is awesome. I feel behind because I haven't heard of the Culture Index before. So this is like amazing. Is it basically like another type of personality testing, like playbook?
Yeah, there's different science and why it's better than DISC. But basically, yeah, it's similar. It's a similar deal. But I know like Predictive Index is another one. I like Culture Index the best. That's like our thing. I think they all are shades of getting to the same thing, and ultimately nothing's perfect. But as long as everyone has the same sort of, we like having shared language is more important, I think, than absolute truth, but we like it.
Yeah, that's awesome. So what do you guys have on the radar for initiatives in 2026?
Yeah, we're marketing. We're really excited about all the happenings in AI and AI overview and AI search and all that. I think one cool thing as well, that this is a more Daniel anecdote than fact, but like when you search junk removal San Antonio, where we're at, the odds, like when I'm seeing Junkstart shows up a lot of the times because we're different, right? It'll say, hey, here's One Hair Got Junk. They got 5,000 reviews. Here's some local mom and pop. And then here's Junkstart because they're the only pay-by-way. It's interesting. Like in the model, if we were all just like the exact same, like your odds of getting Junkstart getting shown against the 50 other competitors in that AI, like it's just hard. Like it's same with organic rankings, but it's like, it's even with organic rankings, like I don't think they're just going to pull the top 3 big franchise brands because they're all the same value prop, right? They're probably going to pull maybe like a local person and so I really like our positioning long-term with being the only pay-by-way provider, like to show up in those AI overviews. And we're really leaning into transparency. So we're planning a little doubt and distrust in the volume-based model. So like they can't really give pricing over the phone. They want a free on-site estimate. We are very objective. So it's, you want a price? Great. Let's estimate how much weight is it. And so I think AI overviews really like that context and like being able to come back with a price range. Whereas like with our competitors, they're like, we have to book a free on-site estimate. That's so much friction. I just don't think that's the way to go. But anyway, we're really excited about all things AI. What are you guys seeing?
Which I think that does make a really good point, because just simply having the only in so many different areas across the web will, I think, provide, I haven't looked, but I could guess and see where you're saying that would give greater visibility into all these LLMs, not to mention Google's AI overviews and all that kind of stuff. But the other piece to it too that gives it a lot of legs is there's so much you guys can do with content, with like awards, I could imagine, just like all those different things that reinforces the only, that then also triggers your authority when a query is sent out on who should I be going to for junk removal in my area.
Yeah. And as a marketer, like, and it all feeds back into our brand archetype, right? We're called like a respectful rebel. Like I call it like Warren Buffett with a biker vest, like got arm tats. But it's like we're doing upending the status quo a little bit, like we're doing something, and so all of the content we do, the transparency, it all like flows together, and it's so nice when it's all, anyway, having done business most of my career, when it hasn't been that coherent and structured, it's just very nice for me, like now that from the brand archetype down to the messaging and what we're doing with even these large language models, it all makes sense.
Yeah, which again is, it always reminds me, if you can make one right decision up front, how many thousands of good decisions are going to be made later. So back to you have it right when you made that one good decision on the differentiator, and then everything just naturally flows and there's way less friction in everything you do.
Yeah. Are you guys, not to nerd out, I like sci-fi and stuff. So anyway, I like figuring out what's going to happen in 10 years, whatever. But are you guys, how are y'all thinking through agentic shopping with AI models? As I'm thinking through it, I'm like, I'm pretty sure one day we're going to have a bot talking to like our bot, and they're going to be booking services, and like the human won't even, eventually it'll just be like, hey, someone's going to come by at whatever, Wednesday at noon. And so like we're trying to figure out like that interface. Have y'all thought through what you think like the agentic commerce will be like, or you think it'll still be people visiting websites predominantly and booking based off that value prop? Because it's
oh man, I don't know. That's such a good question. I'm not gonna lie, I think in the Super Bowl was yesterday for us. Yeah. So the idea of flying cars, I was never like flying cars were gonna happen. But then I just saw an ad taxi commercial for a flying taxi in LA. So it's, if you can imagine it and people would actually use it, it's gonna happen. Yeah. I think the key is like, are people actually going to use it? Or is it something that's really cool and it conceptually sounds efficient and awesome, but someone's creeped out by it, so never ends up using it? There's some of those small nuances that actually get something from a cool idea to fruition. I am not, at this point, I'm like, I can't even imagine the type of things that we will have at our disposal. If I've got like an AI Erin over here that's helping me with different things, like, yes, please, I would definitely do that. And as long as it's like a safe and secure manner, you know what I mean?
I got to figure that out. Yeah, we've been surprised with the AI voice, like really as we're experimenting with lots of different functions in the call center, really rollovers, after hours, even like frontline support. I'm just shocked at how well the models book. I'm shocked at how receptive people are. I think there's always some folks that will always want to talk to humans, which of course you can accommodate, but I don't know, maybe 18 months ago, I would have thought it's humans only, like phones. And I certainly have reconsidered that to where I think these models, especially on customer support or call center, like I think they're the worst they'll ever be today. They're the least amount of adoption they'll ever have, but that's something that I've definitely changed my opinion on the last 12 to 18 months on like our call center and what we're envisioning and humans in the loop. And when it's going to be so interesting with the follow-up process, just how to close the funnel for you marketing folks. I think there's like marketing, the calls, there's so many cool things going on there that I think will be, I think, a tailwind, right? You want to do not fight this. Don't go to an industry that is like fighting it. I think you want to get an industry that has the sales at its back with AI and tech. And I certainly think like the home and commercial services like we're in, I think you'll have tailwinds and not trying to fight it.
Yeah, because I think consumers now, I mean, we're all culturally being trained slowly over time that it's more acceptable, how to use it. And then I think a lot of our preference towards humans originally were because the AI agents or like answers were shit. So it's, you want a human. So it's not really that you want a human, you just want the right answer.
Yeah.
Whatever gets you the right quality, quick answer, people are going to flow towards. And I think if that's AI at the end of the day, that will be the preference. Yeah. So it's just like like everyone's getting trained that it's getting better. And at some point, I think it, just like you're talking about with AI and call centers, like there's pockets where we're seeing it start to do really well.
Yeah. Yeah. And then immediately it'll be your agent calling our agent and they'll be talking. And yeah, that's right. That's going to be right behind it, I think. It's interesting.
We'll be having a podcast where we're not even present. We're just inputting our thoughts. And
I think, yeah, it'll be craziness about AI, and then they'll be like back to the human analog. I just want to go have a beer with Erin and talk to her. That will be, I think, flourish in the future, and then I think the technology stuff will flourish. But yeah, I don't know about the middle. The middle's going to be hard, but
yeah, the pendulum always swings.
Yes. Yeah.
Was there anything that you wish we would have touched on that we didn't?
No, I got to geek out a little bit on the future stuff. Excited about that. Yeah, no, I think that's all I had.
Awesome. If anyone wants to learn more about Junkstart, where should they go?
Yeah, I get it like junkstart.com, junkstartfranchising.com, my socials, LinkedIn, just Daniel McCarty, and x.com, the everything app. Pretty active on there as well, just Daniel McCarty. But yeah.
Awesome. Thanks again for joining us and for everyone who listened in to another episode.
Thanks.
Thanks for listening to The Art of Franchise Marketing. This show is brought to you by NetCertive. We help franchise brands and multi-location businesses run localized digital marketing at scale. To learn more, visit netcertive.com.